Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Friday's edition of the Mobile Lifestyle Chat, VZWBuzz, sponsored by Verizon. Today, we come to you from my home because we actually had some snow today, so I couldn't do the live cast from our offices. However, as you can see, my dog Brody is attentively joining us, and he's going to help me demo some of the technology and take some of your questions as well. But my real guest today is Marty McPadden. How are you, Marty?
Doing good. How you doing, Monica?
I'm doing good, Marty. You come out from Connecticut, right?
That is correct. Very cold. I mean, we're fairly close. I know you're in New York. We're in Connecticut, and we had a little snow this morning, snow squalls, and it's freezing cold, and I'm already ready for spring.
You're done with the snow. I know. So today's chat was all about how we can simplify technology, right? The more we hear about all the features and the apps and new terms, because the tech industry is an expert at creating new terms, it becomes a little complicated for anyone, not just for people that are new to technology, but also even for the so-called experts. And so please never feel bad that something may be too complex or that you have some questions about some things that some other people consider basic. I recently really wanted to find out what meme meant. I really couldn't understand it too well. And so even though memes have been around for a good 5 years, I think, I still didn't quite get what people meant when they said meme. And so don't feel bad. We all get to find out about technology, whether it's old or new, at some point or another. Today's winner is going to get this beautiful Sony Xperia smartphone. This one is the Z3V, and I'm just going to take it out of the box quickly for you to see. It's beautiful. I'm not going to touch it, but this is the one you're getting. It's completely waterproof, so you can take selfies underwater or in the shower or listen to your music, or if it falls in some water places, as it's been known to happen, you can it'll still be operating. It's a great smartphone by Verizon Network, of course. So Marty, let's get started. Some of the more common concerns people have when they say, mobile lifestyle, how do I pick a smartphone? What is your advice?
Wow. I mean, it's got more and more complex, I think, as time has gone on. And the wonderful news, along with the complexity, is there's a lot of choice out there. So I think the first thing you got to decide on is platform. So there's iOS, Apple, there's Android, two of the most popular platforms. If you already are in the Apple universe, iOS is probably a pretty good choice. If you're not and you're new to smartphones, then certainly consider Android. And I think and I got my notes here, and I think some of the important things to consider between the two, and I'm going to really talk about the two. We have Windows phones as well. With Android, if I had to summarize it, you can really customize Android. And I'm going to show you a couple of these phones here. Let me switch to my other camera here. So I got a bunch of stuff on my desk here. So this is an example of an Android phone. This is and I'm holding this right. This is the Motorola Droid Turbo. And what's great about this phone is that it's got incredible battery life. And I think among all the other features right now with phones, battery life, I think, is one that everyone talks about. So this one, I believe, and let me just check my notes, runs for
48
at
hours.
least
Yeah.
48 hours, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
The,
so it's a wonderful phone for that. The other thing I want to point out is battery life is always a concern. So, you can always get an external battery, and I highly recommend getting an external battery. A couple I'm going to point out is Motorola has a wonderful one here, and you could see very, very thin. And what's great about this is you don't have to worry about running out of juice. So you just put this in your pocket, and you pretty much can get through the day. If you run out of juice, hook this up, and all you're looking to do is get through the day. So this will give you at least 1 to 2 charges, full charges on your phone. You just plug it in at night, take it with you. It's got a built-in cord. If you have an Android phone, I'm just going to take this off. It's got a built-in cord here, so you don't even have to worry about remembering the cord. If you have an iOS device, it has a jack here. You just hook in your lightning connector right over here. So that I think is, and I'm going to switch back here. I'm running the show too, so if I'm kind of fumbling, you'll kind of know what I mean here. But anyways, those are a couple things there. But I think overall, and we'll get into I think some of the other features. But overall, the thing I hear about the most is battery life. Definitely get an external battery, and that solves a lot of issues right there.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Is picking, sort of the environment that you're comfortable with. So, I get to use a lot of devices thanks to our sponsor, Verizon Wireless, and oftentimes I find that they don't play very well with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you what you want to do when you're actually thinking perhaps about switching is just go to a store or go to a friend's house that actually has that phone and that you're thinking of and play around with it. There's definitely some benefits. I've used Windows phones, Android phones, and iOS phones, and there are benefits to all three. It really just depends on which one you are more comfortable with, and also what you find is the easiest that's actually going to be the most useful, because many would pick one phone for its great camera, but if it doesn't have the apps that you need, then it's not going to do the whole job for you. So maybe a phone that is not touted as, oh my goodness, the best camera on the planet, but it actually has functionality that you like, that you use, that you find, you need a long battery life. So find the Droid Turbo, which is one of the best devices as far as battery life, or even the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, which I know also has incredible battery life. So you have to find the things that are important to you. Make a list and say camera, battery life, storage, screen. Some of us really read a lot on our screen. You're actually reading documents, proposals, books even. And so if the sound is important, if the screen is important, make a list of your top features and start there. It is nothing about, who else has the coolest or latest gadget. It's about what you're actually going to be using the most. One of the things that I know, Marty, we need to talk about a lot, which is really, really important, it used to be the domain of techies, is the cloud. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that we use the cloud for? Because I know, and Robin says it often as well, the cloud is so, so important to learn. So tell us a little bit about why you think, first of all, is important, and then we can talk about some of the cloud services that we want our community to be familiar with.
Absolutely. I'll talk a little philosophy here. And Monica, you raised a very, very good point about the cloud. It couldn't be any more important to consider that, to have some type of cloud service backup. Now on the iPhone, you have iCloud. I know Verizon has a cloud service of their own. That's platform agnostic. But I think overall, beyond the technical nature of the cloud, it's really the backup portion. Now, a lot of people use their phones for video, for photos. Those photos are very precious, usually of their kids, and they're one-time deals. And I've heard a lot of horror stories where people will just leave it on the phone thinking they have it secure, and they lose the phone, it gets stolen, or something breaks on the phone, and they don't have a backup. And that's the worst thing you can do. So I think the easiest is using one of the cloud services, whether it's Verizon service or Dropbox or OneDrive from Microsoft. I know you can probably talk a little bit more about the Verizon solution itself.
Well, I think that's also one of the things that make it so easy if you lose your phone or if you switch phones, to have your Verizon cloud service lined up. It comes with your phone and depending on the plan that you're on, but once you switch phones, literally all you have to do is turn it on, enter your own password and maybe your email, etc., and everything is there. Even your apps, even the apps that you had on your old phone is on your new phone. Oftentimes we choose not to switch phones or upgrade our gear because we don't want to bother with entering all the data, putting all our contacts back in, even the photos that are there, right? So if you are on Verizon Cloud takes care of that. Otherwise, you can use SkyDrive, you can use Dropbox to put everything into it. And it's actually very simple. We're actually going to do a tutorial on the cloud. I know Robin and I have been meaning to just really spell it out in simple steps. The cloud is one of those things that is going to enhance your life. I can tell you an example is that it doesn't matter which device I am in. I can access my documents from anywhere that I am. I can access my photos. Really, I even have my passport pictures. Things that are really, really important, no matter where I am, what device I have, I can access them on the cloud service that I use. And so that's one of the reasons why storage on my phone isn't that important to me anymore, because I put everything on the cloud. I don't really need big storage on my phone. For others, it might be more important. And so the cloud is one of those things that you actually want to set up yourself to learn a little bit more on, because it's going to change your life.
Yeah, Monica, I was just looking at the Twitter, and I know Jason Eng just posted a question, just caught my eye. Is there a cost to the Verizon Cloud at all? Do you know, or is that just included, or do you know how that works?
I'm gonna research this further. I know I don't pay for it because it's in my plan, and so depending on the plan that you're on. But I know that Robin knows this really well as well, so we're gonna get that. But the service that I know Robin really likes, for example, is SkyDrive. So if you're on a PC and you use Outlook, and 90% of the world or more actually is on a PC, try to use SkyDrive. You can actually, it's a cloud service. You share your documents. You can cooperate with other people using SkyDrive. I know Robin and I exchange a lot of documents over SkyDrive as well. So it doesn't mean that you have to belong to all the services. Just pick one that's right for you. Mm-hmm. And what's important about that is that you control it. It's your information. It's just stored in the cloud, and it's it's for us to help us think about it being somewhere else as opposed to locally.
And
now, the Verizon More Everything plan, which is what Robin has just posted. Thanks so much, Robin. Is that you get 250 gigabytes of cloud service per year, and so More Everything, if you have more than one line, is really well worth it. Exploring. Many people are saving money. I know we saved when we switched over. We had 4 lines, and so you also get the cloud service on that.
That's an excellent suggestion. 250 gigabytes for people wondering how big that is. That's a lot of data. So that'll hold quite a bit. Certainly per year. And I think OneDrive, if you're Office subscriber 365, there's some good deals there too. But the idea is, especially with that media and those documents and those photos and videos that you cannot replace, you have to have those backed up. There's no question about it. Whatever you need to do, even if you need to get help to do it today if you haven't already done it. Very, very important.
Yeah. Don't forget, everyone, the person that wins the phone is going to be the person that actually shares the top 1 or 2 things that you learned during the chat or during the recap. And so tell us what those are, because that's the person we're going to pick for this amazing Sony Xperia Z3V. The other thing I was going to say is in the iOS environment, which I know you're also familiar with, Marty, there's a great feature on tips. And so the phone itself will give you tips, and you can just, when you're, I don't know, sitting in a doctor's office, and we tend to look at our screens a lot these days. You can spend some time going through the tips, the actual app that comes on the phone. Have you used it?
Yes, I have actually. When I switched to the iPhone 6, which I'm going to show you now on the desk, and this will give you some idea also of sizes of screens. But when I switched to the iPhone 6, it helped because they updated the operating system, and there were a lot of changes, a lot of additions, and those tips, especially for newer users, help a lot. And just while I have this up on the screen, one of the other things you want to consider when you're stepping up to a smartphone is screen size. We mentioned that before, and here's an example. I have the iPhone 6, iPhone 6 Plus. It's quite a bit different, and you say, okay, it's great to see it on video here, but how am I going to tell? Couldn't recommend strongly enough you really need to visit the Verizon store. Hold the phones in your hand. Not only the iPhones, but on the Android side, you got phones like the Samsung Note, Galaxy Note 4, which is an incredible phone. The LG 3, which is an incredible phone. Both very large screen phones. You really got to make sure that whatever fits in your hand, whatever is going to work for you. It's very, very important to kind of look at that and see what works for you.
Yeah, I actually love this link I'm going to post, the Verizon simulators. Um, it allows you to actually look online at a phone that you may be exploring, and it just walks you through by category what you need to know about it. And I've gone to it a lot to learn about, say, I'm playing out with the Samsung S5 or the Notes or even perhaps a Windows Phone. You can actually check on the simulator. The LG G2 is on it. All the Droids are on it. The HTC One is on it. And the simulator basically just, again, walks you through step by step. So I'm going to post that. They give you a choice, for example, if you're starting, if you want to learn about social apps, that kind of thing. And so the simulators are a great resource before you find something, before you actually decide on a phone whether it's right for you. So I'm going to post that here. Marty, tell us a little bit about how you find great apps. What is your best source for apps? And we're going to wrap it up in just the next minute or so.
You got it. Apps, boy. I'm a tech geek junkie, so I read a lot of blogs. I happen, as Monica's mentioned, I happen to be on the Apple iOS platform, so I read a lot of Apple blogs, and that's probably my best source. I hear all about all the apps. I try every app. A lot of them are free, and I'll buy some. But I guess really is you want to read the kind of the industry blogs. I mean that's really how I find out a lot about the apps. Also on the App Store itself, they have the front page where they'll have the new and noteworthy apps. They'll have recommended. They'll usually have a kind of an app of the month. I know on the Google Play Store it's very, very similar. Both are very, very good sources. On the Android side, same thing. There's a lot of blogs out there. In fact, I highly recommend if you really get into it and you want to get really geeky, search out some of those blogs. Do a Google search and search out Android blogs. And there's a ton of great information out there. And that's really kind of how you find out about some of the first apps that are out there.
Yeah, one of the things that I find is that, say, for example, you are interested in photography and you want to find great photography related apps. It's going to sound a little obvious, but follow photography as a hashtag perhaps and see what people are sharing, or ask people that take good photos, even people on Twitter that you may not know that you follow. If you say, what are your favorite apps? If you're into food, if you want to know about travel apps, about organization apps, productivity apps, find some people that you follow on Twitter and just ask them directly. I know Robin is a plethora of choices and advice by category. I know, for example, Geek Babe. Gene Parks is another incredible resource of good advice for specific apps. So ask the people that you trust. When I'm traveling, I think I've said this before, I like to ask the people in line. So if I'm standing in line waiting for check-in or something and people are using certain apps, I like to find out what they're using. If they're traveling like I am, I have found some of the best apps by asking people standing in line at the supermarket, the check-in counter, and certainly, when I see somebody taking great photos, ask what apps do they use. I recently learned a lot about Snapseed. People seem to love that app, and of course Instagram as well. So any parting thoughts on how people can take the time to just demystify the whole tech thing?
Yeah, actually I got one additional thing to bring up, and that's about your mobile hotspot. If you're a traveler or just out and about, you know how Wi-Fi is kind of all over the place. Public Wi-Fi is available, seems like everywhere. So if you go to airports or hotels, the only problem is that, public Wi-Fi is not necessarily all that secure. So what I would do is I would tend to most people with smartphones have hotspots built in. So, and most of the time you have plenty of data. I'm looking over here at my switcher, so excuse me. Most people have hotspots built in. They have big data plans. I know we have a 15 gigabyte data plan. Now, not you don't always have to have that big of a data plan, but I would make sure that you're investigating the hotspot on your phone. I know on iOS it has built in, very, very easy to link up. All the major Android phones have it. And the one question that comes up also is that, with unlimited data going away, am I okay to, use my data? How much do I need? Most people I find, if you're not streaming a lot of media, and that's really what takes up a lot of data, streaming a lot of media and location tracking, anything that stays on. But average surfing, email, 2 gigs is going to be plenty for most people in a month. And you can easily up that. And I know Verizon has really competitive and well-priced plans. You get plenty of data. So again, don't be afraid to use that hotspot. I think the security is worth it, certainly. So definitely be aware of that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Instead of going to an open Wi-Fi, use your own mobile hotspot. If you're even at Starbucks or any of those locations with free Wi-Fi and you need to do something important, banking, something like that, use your own hotspot. It's a lot more secure, safer option for you. I want to remind everyone that this weekend is NFL playoff weekend. It's like one of my favorite weekends of the year. And if you have the NFL mobile app, which is exclusively on Verizon, you can actually watch the playoffs live on your phone. And so download the NFL mobile app. And if you're a football fan, this is our weekend. It's probably just as fun to me as the Super Bowl weekend. Lots of great games on. So don't forget to, if you need to watch them and if you're on the go, as long as you're not driving, you can watch the NFL playoffs live right on the NFL mobile app. How cool is that? Okay, so we have a winner for the Sony Xperia. It is Aaron Deer, and your Twitter ID is Mama Deer, MUMMADEAR. Congratulations, we will be shipping this phone right out to you. And if you can please share your shipping address with Misty McPadden, we would appreciate it. This way it can go out to you today. Well, no, actually, no. We will send it out on Monday for sure. So you'll have it next week. Thanks again, everyone. We will see you next week for another edition of the VZWBuzz Mobile Lifestyle Recap. So remember to join us at 3 p.m. at the start of the Twitter chat. Thanks again and have a great weekend, everyone.